I saw someone down there. He wasn't human.
He's a known terrorist, and he's killed again.
They didn't just kill them. They hacked into their minds.
He's everywhere and nowhere.
I will find him. And I will kill him.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick. Christy and Alonzo. We're talking about Ghost in the Shell, which Matt also saw, but he unfortunately could not be here. I think he has thoughts on it, maybe.
No doubt.
So this is a live-action remake of the animated, groundbreaking animated?
Yeah, it was I was saying, what are you kind of her?
I don't have anything to say.
She's making me explain this one, and good luck. Anyway, yeah, it's a live-action remake of the 1995 anime feature, which was in turn an adaptation of manga, and it is set in a future where people's brains and souls and spirits, or their ghost, can exist inside of super badass robots, which are the Shell. And we have Scarlett Johansson as the Major, and she works for a unit of the Department of Defense and is trying to figure out who is bumping off executives at a robotics company, and of course discovers that things are way more complicated than she originally expected. Take a look.
What are you?
What a beauty you are.
What do you want from me?
They did not save your life. They stole it.
How many were there before me?
She was supposed to have a clean brain. I order you to terminate.
They created me, but they cannot control me.
So one thing I did like about this, I enjoy the increasing dehumanization and defeminization of Scarlett Johansson. I like that this is where she has chosen to go with her career,
right?
Because she's so gorgeous and she's so like uber feminine and curvy, and she could very easily have made a career of just being beautiful, like playing curvy femme fatales.
Sure.
And I like that between this and her and Under the Skin and Lucy, where she just straight up becomes a computer.
Yeah.
Like she's toying with her own image and her own sense of feminine power in ways that are challenging and that are usually pretty smart. Like I loved Under the Skin.
Yes.
I loved her. And I like the idea of her doing this, but the flip side of that with this particular character, with Major, is that it completely strips her of what makes her interesting as an actress, as a screen presence. Like she's so low key, she's so one note that like there's none of that charisma that makes her so fascinating is there.
Exactly. I mean, I think what makes her interesting as a movie star is that she is so gorgeous, but at the same time comes off as somebody with a sense of humor about herself and the world, and is funny and relatable and empathetic, and none of that is here. She might as well be like gleep glorping, you know. It's so like monotone. And I mean, you know, my big beef with this movie is it's kind of like the John Carter syndrome. You know, the John Carter, the Edgar Rice Burroughs book inspired Superman, it inspired Star Wars, it inspired this whole sort of next century's worth of genre material. So by the time they get around to making a movie of it, after Star Wars and after Superman and stuff, it all feels kind of like, I've seen this before, even though you invented it, but now it feels familiar. Ghost in the Shell, the previous film version in particular, was hugely influential, especially on The Matrix.
Yeah, clearly.
And so to watch this movie, this live action movie now following The Matrix, you know, it's sort of like, well, this kind of seems familiar, you know?
Yeah, the one image especially of her, we see a couple times of her like taking off the jacket and like plunging backward off the top of a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the derivation has come full circle now.
Exactly.
But do we blame this movie for that? I mean, or just the choice to make it in the first place?
The choice to make it in the first place,
Yes.
I think. I mean, because the material, obviously, the source material is influential and always will be, but to then film it all these years later after so many other people have dipped into that well, it can't help but feeling kind of tired. I was not engaged in this. I liked looking at it, you know, there's just a ton of visual things going on, and a lot of it also feels kind of borrowed, not just from
Blade Runner,
from a million other sort of future cities. You know, I was even reminded of that shitty Total Recall remake, just because of the stacked freeways. Remember in that movie?
Oh yeah, and also you see Scarlett Johansson wandering around what is ostensibly Tokyo.
Well, yeah,
Did that not occur to you?
Newport City, I think is what it's called.
But that reminds you of Lost in Translation, of course.
Oh, that's true. I had not thought about that.
That's one of the first things I love. I'm like, oh, she's sad in Tokyo again.
I mean, you know, and I'm not going to get into the whole whitewashing controversy. There are people who I think have more of a stake in it than I do. I would argue that, hey, she's a robot.
She's a robot, yeah. And
the movie kind of
spoil anything.
The movie does kind of allow a plot reason as to why she's not.
They do, and I was okay with that. But again, like as you say, others like Jen Yamato has written extensively on this. Read Jen Yamato because she's brilliant and a wonderful writer and always looks at things in new and fresh ways. But yeah, Jen has some thought, or just go to her Twitter feed.
There you go.
Because she's been very vocal about this, understandably so. So I mean, I guess you have a lot of Japanese actors in them. Takeshi Kitano's in this, so he's her boss, right, or whatever he is. There are a couple of moments that were vaguely emotionally moving toward the end, but mostly it is just like flash and color and substance. I mean, a style rather over substance, but style we have seen done many times before.
And when I see Juliette Binoche in a movie like this, I always think about her character in Clouds of Sils Maria getting offered like big stupid Hollywood movies, and so I think somewhere in her mind is like, oh yeah, I'm getting a paycheck, you know.
Yeah. So why do you think someone of that stature and beyond a paycheck says yes to a movie like this?
I think the paycheck probably is not to be underestimated, you know, and again, I think for a lot of these actors, this paycheck means you can make like the next 5, Leos Carax or whatever movies that are going to pay you 2 cents, you know. This way you at least make sure that the mortgage on your like second home, on the Riviera is covered or whatever. No, I don't begrudge Juliette Binoche, cashing in on this, and she's, she gets saddled with a lot of exposition, and she makes it flow as well as anybody.
She brings gravitas, as I'm fond of
saying.
There
we go.
Drink.
I just watched the anime version again this week to kind of remind myself of what the story was, and I was intrigued to see how they were going to do it as a live action film. It's directed by Rupert Sanders. This is his second feature after the first Snow White and the Huntsman.
Which was scandalous.
That one, yes, that guy. But I don't know. I kind of caught myself doing this a lot, and
there's a sameness to it, like a gloomy kind of grayish sameness to it, despite the colorful nature of the city.
Yeah, it feels like bits and parts of things that we've seen before kind of fused together, but with a little bit of brio, I guess.
Yeah, I have not seen the animated original. I will admit, I'm not sure you necessarily need to go into it having seen the animated original. You don't. But you will clearly recognize the touchstones and the really important films that have come along that it is clearly influential on. And if you're thinking about bringing kids, don't. It's PG-13, but it's super violent.
It is.
People getting shot in the face. And
this is true.
Shit blows up, and I would not bring a child. If you're thinking about it. I mean, people are much better parents out there than I am, but even I.
Oh, I saw a dad bringing 2 very young kids to Chips, so
Oh my God, Chips is a hard R, which we'll get to Chips later on, sadly. All right, so what is your number then?
I give it a 5.5. I mean, it is technically competent, and there are some moments of real beauty in it, but it just was kind of mostly ho-hum for me.
Yes, 5. I am very much on the same page as you. Our number is a 5.3. It's high on the tomato meter. It's like 71%. It's high 60s, low 70s. It's been messing around in that territory. So,
I think fans of the original may dig it. Ben Kroll wrote the review at The Wrap, and he said that this is the movie equivalent of cosplay.
Oh, that's a good point. point, yeah.
So if you just want to see the anime version again, but with flesh and blood people, you know, I mean, there are some changes. It's not slavishly committed to the original, but visually, it is.
Bye.